he said, can you give me a shot? I said, yeah. So I took my trench knife and put it in his back pocket and ripped his uniform down, because you're supposed to put that in the buttock, you know. Ripped his uniform down to about his knee. And he says, what'd you do that for? He says, this is my best uniform. And you should have seen his uniform. It was a terrible shame. So I poked him with the morphine and got the rest of my squad over, and we started down the road. And we fought for 3 days to get to the point. I'll tell you a good story. I was a hero.
All right.
One afternoon we were over in kind of what they call the Sudetenland between France and Germany, and we were on the main line. Now ordinarily they didn't commit us for mainline fighting because they were supposed to commit us only for a particular objective. But we were there waiting for something to happen, and I don't remember exactly what it was. We were supposed to take off and take a town or do something like that. But we were just hanging out there. We'd been there a day or two. And the captain's dog robber came down. He says, Doyle, the captain wants to see you. I said, okay. So I went back to company headquarters, which is behind where we were. And the captain says, Doyle, I'm going to send you on a raid tonight. He said, G2 tells us that they want an officer prisoner. And he said, I'm going to send you out to get one. He said, I was going to send a lieutenant, but he's been sick as stomach all day. He said, I don't think he'd do much good. So I said, well, all right, then. He says, take your squad, and I'll give you another BAR. So if you get in trouble, you can fight your way out. So that made me have 3 BARs.
What's a BAR?
BAR is a machine gun that's a little bigger than a rifle, and you carry it like a rifle, and it has 20-round clips, so that it actually is a machine gun, but it's very portable. Probably our best weapon. We used a lot. But he said, go down to A Company, which was 2 companies down from where we were, and talk to their captain. He knows where the Jerrys have got their last outpost, and G2 tells us there's a hole in their line beyond their last outpost. G2's the intelligence group that run the Army intelligence. Well, I went down to A Company, and the captain showed me where their last emplacement was. And he said, skirt it pretty good or they'll get on you. But he said, frankly, I don't know whether to trust G2's estimate of the width of the hole or not. So I said, I wouldn't skirt it any further than you have to. So we went back and got ready. Left as soon as it got good and dark. Walked. Well, the captain showed me there was a house a couple of miles behind their line, which they thought was either a regimental or a battalion headquarters. And they wanted us to get an officer out of that headquarters because they wanted to bring him back and quiz him to find out exactly who was there and what their strengths were.
A German officer?
Yes, yes. Well, I found the house. Without too much difficulty, I memorized the captain's map. He wouldn't give me his map, of course. Maps were in real short supply. If you had a map, you didn't let anybody else have it. So I memorized his map pretty well and was able to get back to the house without getting lost. Well, you don't want to be lost running around behind the German lines, so I felt pretty proud of myself when I found the house. So we shot the sentries, kicked in the doors and windows, and grouped all these guys in one room. And there were probably, maybe 6, 7 of them, something like that. And I looked them over, and there was a guy standing there that had on the best-looking German uniform I've ever seen. He had on a black leather coat with silver braid going up both sleeves, you know. And I thought, geez, that guy must be at least a colonel. I knew he wasn't a general officer because the Germans used to wear they had red tabs on their collars if they were general officers. And he didn't have red tabs. So I told my corporal, I said, put the cuffs on this guy. So we handcuffed him and gathered up all their weapons. We always took their weapons because we didn't want them shooting at us when we were leaving, and took off. We went, you know, like a couple hundred yards and threw their weapons away. We weren't interested in stealing their weapons, we just didn't want them using them on us. Well, anyway, we got back and cut through pretty much the whole line. We ran into one patrol, but it was only a 3-man patrol, and there were 12 of us, so we didn't have any problem getting those guys neutralized. We got on back, came through A Company, and I told the corporal, I said, take that guy on back to company headquarters, because I'm going to sleep. It was 3 o'clock in the morning by then, you know. And so I went back to my hole where my squads and I were situated. We all went to sleep. Next morning, I'm thinking, by golly, Mo, you didn't do a bad job last night. You got a first-class officer prisoner, didn't get a single man wounded, didn't get anybody shot up. And I thought, I think I'll go back to company headquarters and kind of bask in the glow a little bit. So I went back to company headquarters after I had something to eat, and the captain sitting there, and I said, what'd G2 think of that prisoner I brought back last night? He said, Sergeant, G2 just called me about 30 minutes ago. He says, that guy you brought back was a band director. He didn't have the faintest, he wasn't real sure which headquarters he was in.
Band director. That's why he had such a nice uniform on.
Oh, he looked great, you know. And generally, Germans of higher rank dress better, you know.
Sure.
Well, our officers dressed better than we did. Not much, but a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, that was the most embarrassing situation for me. Well, I had been on these raids before, but I was never in charge of one.
Yeah.